Whether you just don't have time for the gym, don't feel confident enough to go yet, or would rather just work out in your own personal space, don't worry, because throughout this video I'm going to show you how you can grow muscle and transform effectively by just using your own body weight and limited equipment. I'm going to go through the exact exercises that I use when I don't have enough time to leave my room and go to the gym. These will hit all of your muscles effectively and will get you great results, almost as if you were using gym weights. The only equipment I'll be using is this cheap set of Amazon resistance bands and university room furniture. First off, let's get into how you can effectively work out your push muscles. This being your chest, your triceps and your shoulders. Firstly, with your chest, I bet you never saw this one coming, it's push-ups. This of course is a compound exercise that also hits your triceps and your shoulders, but more focuses on your chest. If you can't already do push-ups, then start with an incline push-up where you do it on a higher surface. Or you could start by doing push-ups on your knees. Once you can do normal push-ups with ease, then progress by starting to perform decline push-ups and using a steeper and steeper decline as you progress. You can also add resistance to your push-ups by either using resistance bands or adding weight in a backpack. Also, if you have something to attach your resistance bands to or have someone to hold them, you can perform a chest fly. But make sure it's secure to stop something like this happening. Moving on to your triceps, a great one is a diamond push-up. This push-up variation is much harder and is much more focused towards your triceps. This is due to your arms being closer together. You could then perform tricep kickbacks with resistance bands. You can do this by standing on the resistance band and then taking it from your hip and then extending backwards. Next, you could do behind the head tricep extensions. This can also be done with your resistance bands, although use a lower resistance as it's often harder to do. Another exercise you can do for triceps is the tricep dips, where you go through a dip focusing on your triceps, then you perform a dip to effectively extend and hit your tricep heads. To make this harder, try doing it slower. Now onto the last of the push muscles, the shoulders. You can perform lateral raises with the resistance bands very effectively, taking the resistance bands from your side all the way up horizontal. I often do this one arm at a time in more of a front raise stance to focus more on my front delts. Next, you can adjust this to do a crossbody raise. This is to more hit your lateral head. You can also perform overhead presses. You can once again do this with resistance bands, or you could just use a random object like I am with this chair. Now let's move on to the pull muscles, which are your biceps and your back muscles. First off, with your biceps, you can do standard bicep curls standing on your resistance bands, going from your hips all the way up to your shoulders. Then to make it harder, grab lower and lower down the resistance bands to add more tension to your curls. You can also perform hammer curls by just switching your grip from this to this, and once again driving from your hips all the way up to your shoulders. Then you can do crossbody hammer curls with the resistance bands too, going from your hip all the way up to your opposite shoulder. These two hammer curl variations are more going to hit your brachialis, which effectively makes your biceps look wider from the front. I often find it best to do crossbody hammer curls one arm at a time, and grabbing both handles and performing it like this to make it even harder. Once again, performing these reps slower is going to make it harder and give you more of a pump. You can also do pull-ups if you have access to a pull-up bar or any stable horizontal bar. Once again though, make sure this bar is stable. You can also progress this by having a weighted backpack on. Now onto your back. Of course, pull-ups are also going to hit your back, especially your lats. So once again, if you have a pull-up bar, get to it. Secondly, you can do seated rows with resistance bands as well. And once again, grab lower and lower down the resistance bands closer to your feet to increase the resistance and make it harder. I also like doing these one arm at a time too. You could also perform resistance band deadlifts or bent over rows. Now onto your legs. These are a bit trickier to effectively hit at home with only resistance bands, although there is alternatives we can use. Firstly, you can perform calf raises by using a step and hanging your heels over the edge, and then lifting up like so. Once again, adding weight to this will make it harder. You can also do split squats by placing one leg on a table or a chair and by squatting with one leg at a time. And to make this harder, you can start slowing down the movement more. You may also want to try a hamstring exercise by holding the resistance band high up and stretching your leg out, or getting someone to hold it for you or attaching it to something so you can properly perform the exercise. Now that's your push, pull and leg exercises done, but there are a couple more additional body parts that I left out. One is your forearms. A great exercise for these are wrist curls, which you can do when you're in a bicep curl position with your resistance bands, and then pull your hands up to perform a wrist curl. And you can also flip your grip to work your posterior muscles too. If you don't get around to doing these, don't worry too much. Many compound exercises, especially pull exercises, work your forearms. So this is just kind of additional. And finally, for your abs, some great ones that have worked for me over the years is the plank crunches, side crunches, and cycling crunches. Taking 2 or 3 exercises from each muscle I've just stated can easily create effective workouts that don't require you going to a gym, and require very little equipment too. Doing these workouts can help you continue or start growing muscle away from the gym. To continue progressing your body and physique every single week, hit that subscribe button and I hope you get bigger and stronger one video at a time.